It's Monday morning. Last night I finished reading Tender is the Flesh. Super cool book. Really love the cover. This cover is sick. Uh, and I want to talk about it. But first, of course, let's go make coffee. Very excited about this pour over. But let's talk more about the book. The book follows Marcos. He works at a processing plant. But the crazy part about this book, if you've been living under a rock, I guess you haven't heard about it. We are living in a dystopian time where animals have gotten this disease where you cannot eat them. And even so much so that if you touch them, you die. And so what has happened is the world has turned to farming humans to eat. But nobody calls them humans because you have to deassociate yourself to be able to enjoy cannibalism. And the story is going to follow Marcos as him and his family used to own an animal slaughterhouse, an animal processing plant, and now they have turned into doing that with humans. And it's going to wrestle with the fact of, is this okay? Is this not? We have to eat. We don't have anything else to eat. Is this just a government thing? This book is so bizarre. I think the idea of it is super freaking cool and one that I was not expecting at all. And the way that it talks about it, even the first chapter, I think gets you right into the idea, and it gets your stomach turning and your mind bubbling. And yeah, it's so freaking bizarre, this idea. Of course, it can only come from South America. The weather's been so nice in Texas the last couple days that I gotta sit outside for this one. Great. And I don't necessarily mean that at all as a jab at South America. In fact, I lived in Venezuela for a couple years. What I mean by that is it is these countries that really know starvation, that really know what it is like to be hungry. And so imagine writing in that context. Argentina is going through a very wild time right now, politically, economically, which is where the author is from originally. And so, of course, she has context of what it's like to see people starving. When I lived in Venezuela, one of the wildest things to see was it wasn't normal people begging for food or money. It was like middle class families. And so you would be out and you would see entire families dressed normal, begging for food, begging for money because they couldn't afford to eat it. And so imagine being in that context and seeing that, and this is where you write this crazy book, this crazy idea. And so that makes sense. Three things that I loved about the book. Again, the idea, the concept is so freaking cool. I don't know that I could come up with one on my own like that. That these humans are being farmed to be eaten. This dystopian future, like, imagine what that would do, not only to you as a person, but as a society, as a country, as a world, that we're willing to not call people humans, and not only that, to eat them. To eat them. And of course, as we right now are wild and do things, there is people that are doing even wilder things. They're towards the end of the book, they reference this specific plant that is doing these weird tests on these subjects, on these humans, even so much so, and all the human processing plants, they cut their tongues off so that they don't scream because they can't bear that. And these are some of the things that are happening in the book, that are happening in the story. Marcos is married and they have a miscarriage, and that is a big thing that is talked about, that leads the story. And yeah, just The writing is pretty good. It's very punchy. It's very fast. It's very quick. It's how I read it anyway. Um, it it doesn't spend a lot of time sort of dragging on and what's happening, but it just all feels very quick. Again, very punchy. I like that about the book. Um, and so again, the story, the punchiness, the writing, I very, very much enjoy from this author. Some of the things that I don't know that I didn't love about the book, this isn't a perfect book, is that I don't know, the story doesn't get very, very deep. And I don't necessarily feel attached to Marcos. I don't feel attached to what's happening. Maybe there's a sort of disassociation that happens because of how wild the story is, if that makes sense. Like, because I know that this isn't real in a sense, like, people really aren't eating humans that I'm aware of. I don't necessarily fully tap into the story, if that makes sense. Even though I know that it's fiction, there's something which I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the author is doing this on purpose. Um, yeah, the story ends, and I just didn't really feel anything. I think the punchiness, though it's something that I really liked, and the quickness of it, something that I really enjoyed, also makes me not get very deep into the story and into the characters. One of the things, and this is my own thing. Obviously, this book is written in Spanish because it's an Argentinian author written in Argentina, and so it's then translated. And as someone that studies ancient translated text, so much of context and nuance can be lost. And so maybe at another point, I'll read the actual story in Spanish. And so there's got to be some nuance and some context that is lost in the translating. I'm a Spanish speaker, and there's so many things that Spanish is a bigger sexier language, and that has to come across in the author's writing in Spanish that we do not necessarily get in English. And again, that is kind of my own fault. Maybe I should have read it in Spanish to begin with. Um, but yeah, overall, enjoyed the book. I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think it's a perfect novel. I think it's sort of missing a bite, a chunkiness. I don't know what it could be because I'm not an author, obviously. But again, I really, really enjoyed the story. Go read the book and form your own decision. Let me know if you've read the book. What has been a thing you liked about it? Are you looking forward to it? Again, I really, really love the cover. It's super sick. I cannot wait to put this up. I don't really have a bookshelf, but I just love how this book looks. I really enjoyed reading it. Um, but again, there were just some things that I felt like could have been a little deeper, and some of that could be lost in the translating of this novel from Spanish to English. So that is my thoughts and ideas on Tender is the Flesh. Really glad I've read it. I'm going to work on another video about what I'm reading in August, but what I'm going to do today is just sip on some coffee, hang out, and do some homework that I need to quit avoiding. Cheers. Have a good one. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment if you've been around this far. Later.